Good morning. Good morning from a different location today. I just want to make sure that all my tech is working. So if you guys are popping in, can you just let me know that you can hear me, that I'm streaming okay? So I'll give you guys a second. Let me know you're out there. I am streaming from a different location, and so my tech is totally different. Good morning. Can you hear me all right? Everyone hear me all right? So, hello. Dr. Trisha Pingle here for live Q&A. I just wanted to pop in for a little while so that we could jump in with our live. I am heading back to home today in a couple hours, but I've been off I had a friend, I had a really close friend come stay with me for 2.5 days. The rest of the time I've been by myself, and I had posted something about that. And a lot of you said, gosh, Dr. P, we never travel by ourselves. And I asked why not. And a lot of you said guilt, and it was kind of like anxious to go by yourself and things like that. And so just a little tidbit before I jump into my topic is just remember that if you don't love being by yourself, it's really hard to love being with other people, right? And I think it is important that we get to know ourselves, the ins and outs, the bad, the good. And by just kind of taking time for yourself, as uncomfortable as it can be at times. I mean, there were times I was here, I was like, gee, what am I going to do? Yesterday was one of those, I was like, well, geez, I don't have anyone here. I don't really want to sit and watch TV. What should I do? So I was like, well, I don't have anything to buy, but I'm just going to go walk around. So I went to Nordstrom Rack and I walked around Home Goods and I went into Whole Foods and I didn't buy anything, but I just wandered. And that was just me being with myself and keeping myself company. And I think it's really important. I really do. And I think putting yourself sometimes in an uncomfortable state is one of the best things that you can do. And what I found is that I'm really relaxed. I was far more productive. I didn't give myself like a hard no on work. Like I said, you can work if you want to work. You cannot work if you don't want to work. And so I ended up working a lot. Oh, and I did my nails. See, look at your nails. I had time. I sat down and did my nails, right? So part of the time I went and had a massage. I watched silly movies. And then other times I really got a lot done because I was very relaxed, focused, and calm. So just a little thing. If you're someone that never does anything by yourself or travels by yourself, just go for one night. I really think 3 nights is the best. I have a whole week here. So I'm like pushing myself. Like I am ready to get home and see my kids this weekend. It's homecoming weekend and that's fun. So anyway, I did want to talk real quick. I see questions coming in, which is great because that's what I'm going to let you guys start rolling the questions out. And then once I finish my little intro here, I'll start rolling through them because I really want to jump into those. So just real quick, as I usually do, I was kind of going through the health news and there was this story on what's better for breakfast, fat or carb. And I think one of the top questions that I get from people is always, what do I eat? How do I eat to lose weight? How do I eat when I'm in my 40s? How do I eat when I'm this or that? And one of the biggest problems, I think, when you're trying to do your own research on this, and you guys can talk to me about this, but one of the biggest problems that I see is we tend to just put everyone in buckets. It's like, okay, well, if you're a man, this is the best diet. If you're the woman, this is your best diet. If you're 30, this is the best diet. If you're 15, this is the best diet. And the bottom line is there's so many more factors to that, right? Life experience has so much more. What else is going on in your life, right? What deficiencies do you have? If we start looking at diet more from a metabolic level rather than like calories, carbs, proteins, fats, like if we really look at the metabolic needs of your individual body, that tells you what diet to have. And this is where functional medicine, naturopathic medicine, this is where what we do comes into play. A lot of you ask me, what is a naturopathic physician? What do you do, right? And it's really looking at what is your body in need of, right? What are you deficient in? If you're deficient in certain nutrients and you're eating a ton of fat because you happen to be female in your 40s and you've been told that keto will help you lose weight, but you can't break down fat because you have nutritional deficiencies due to stress, due to underlying disease, due to genetic abnormalities, due to whatever, you're not going to benefit from that diet. So you could take two women the exact same age, right? And you could put them in the bucket and say, you're a woman, you're 45 years old, you should do keto and intermittent fasting. And they go, okay, cool, I'll lose weight by doing this. Well, if they have different metabolics, it's going to work differently for both, whether it's successful or not, or what varying degrees of success. The level of exercise is going to matter, the level of stress, right? The type of diet you put in. So I think my point is the reason why I'm so passionate about what I do and why I got into this over looking at the conventional model is we all have biochemical individuality. We all have different factors that make us up. And that's what's so beautiful about you, right? Different mindset, different experience, different genetics, different everything. So how do we know? How do you know what diet you as an individual should eat? Using Dr. Google is probably not going to help you a whole heck of a lot, right? Because you could type in, okay, I'm 45 years old, woman, I want to lose 10 pounds. What should I eat? And you're going to get 50,000 different opinions, right? When it's really not about your age. It's about your metabolics. So what I would be Googling instead is, how do I assess my metabolic health? How do I find my nutritional deficiencies? How do I know how stress is impacting my body? What tests should I run? How do I get a understanding of my genetic makeup and the things that I need to really be more proactive with than not, right? Those are the questions we should be Googling, because when you know your metabolic markers and you know what areas of your health could use improvement, and by the way, we all need improvement. You know, I have people that say, oh, gee, you really got me on a great health track. I feel great. I'm all done. Like, I'm going to go off and do it on my own. That's great if you're continuing to investigate and grow, right? Because health is never perfect. I still have years to go, and I've come so many years in my health. I mean, so far in my health. I feel great, but that doesn't mean that I'm not still proactive towards what could happen. I know my metabolics. I know my genetics. I know my stress. I know what gets me. I know the mindset shifts that I have to regularly be pushing myself, but I still need guidance too. I didn't abandon my, resources for that, right? So I think we look so much at, well, how do I lose 10 pounds? You lose 10 pounds. You're like, okay, I'm done. Good. I got it. No, what's the next? What's the next step with you for health? And the best way to do that is to really understand where you are now. Where are you in the health spectrum? Where are your defaults? Where do you excel? Where are you not so good? What is your journey in your life? And what really, with really good, clear understanding, what are your health goals, right? I really try, and I catch myself in this trap all the time. Maybe some of you guys can relate. So listen up. Tell me if this is you too. I catch myself in this trap of like, my goal is to look XYZ. My goal is to, I don't know, it comes to more vanity, right? For other people to think that I have it all together, and that's not the case. That actually isn't my goal. My goal is to be able to climb up a ladder when I'm 90 years old and not fall off, right? My goal is to be active in my life when I'm a senior. My goal is to still be living in my home and doing things in my life when I'm older. That's a very different goal, right? So I could focus on the other things and they'll get me so far. But then the longer I wait to start being proactive towards those goals that are 30 years from now, the harder it's going to be, right? It's that whole thing like, well, I'll start this after Christmas, right? I always say, I'll start this after Christmas. Well, you're now going to be 4 months behind somebody who starts it right now, right? The sooner you start these little habits, the sooner you get there. the more opens up to you, the more you learn about your body and what it responds to and what it doesn't. So I just wanted to remind you guys, when you read these articles about diet and it says, oh, what should I try next? What's the best diet right now? It's not about that. It's about knowing your metabolic health. If you want to know the best diet for you, you have to investigate. You have to know where you are right now. What are your numbers? What are your goals? What are your genetic predispositions? Because they're not inevitable. Just because you have a gene does not mean that's your fate. You can actually change it, but you have to know you have it, right? So how do we change it? What diet is best for autoimmunity? What diet is best for this or that? Well, you have to know what are your numbers, right? Does that make sense? And that's when you lean on people like me or people, functional naturopathic, is we're looking for what is your biochemical individuality and what is the customized plan for you to get there. That's what we do. Does that help clarify that? I get a lot of questions, like what prompts my live topics in the beginning is what you guys are asking me, what I'm hearing, what people are saying, right? And love this reminder that health and joy is multidimensional. Yeah. And I'll tell you, you cannot be physically healthy if you don't feel joy. Now, in order to feel joy, you're going to have to feel pain at times, because otherwise you're not going to understand the joy, right? Like when I ask you guys, what is joy? I wonder, what would you guys answer? Like joy to me is just being present in the moment and being okay with it. And like being like, okay, this is fun, finding the fun and everything, right? But joy to other people, you might feel like that needs to be this abundance of I'm happy all the time and nothing ever goes wrong. That's actually not joy, right? You have moments of joy with moments of pain. The pain helps you appreciate those small, little, tiny moments of joy that you could embrace, right? Like I say to people all the time, and they say, oh, what are you happy about? What's going on? I'm like, I'm really happy I woke up this morning. I'm happy the sun's out. I'm happy to be somewhere where I can enjoy the beauty of the desert and a beautiful golf course and geese in my lawn. Like I'm so grateful for that. I'm grateful that my son has homecoming game tonight and I get to go watch it. I get to walk in there and I get to sit down and I get to cheer him on and I get to feel that energy. I'm really excited for that. These are really small things that bring me joy. If you were to ask me what brought me joy 15 years ago, I would not have been able to answer. Or I would have said something material like, well, when I make more money, I'll have joy. Or when I get through this, I'll feel joyful. When I do this, I will get joy. That's what I probably would have said when I was in the throes of adrenal fatigue and overstimulated and nutrient deficient and metabolically unhealthy. I would have said, I'll get joy when. I'll find joy after, right? Can you guys relate to that? Anyone? I find joy in so many little things now. I found joy in this water bottle that I picked up at Home Goods yesterday. Look at this sucker. Look, it'll fit in my car. Because, the biggest problem with these huge water bottles is they don't fit in your car holder, right? Like, why don't they make those bigger? So I found this and I actually had joy. I was like, oh, yes, what a cool water bottle. And I just snatched it up and bought it. And it was only $17, right? Like little things. So just to remind you guys, find that joy. If you're relating to this, give me hearts, give me thumbs up. If this helps you, just the little reminders. If you're finding yourself saying, I'll find joy when, or I don't know what I find joy in, or I have no joy right now, everything is horrible. It's time to take action for your future and your health because you're stuck in it. And I know what it feels like to be there. Does anyone feel that way? You probably don't want to admit it on a live. You may not want to admit it on a live, but I know what that feels like. It feels like you just can't. You just can't. You're just so stuck in it that you can't take an action on your own health. And it's little things like writing sticky notes, reminding yourself, little things that you tend to pick yourself up. You have to know yourself so well and get to know yourself so well, the good and the bad. And that is why I travel alone often, right? Because I have to know the bad parts. And I don't want to call them bad. I need to know the downward spirals in me so that I can recognize them, catch them, change the mindset, and move forward. Otherwise, my health will just stay stagnant, right? I may not get sicker, but I'm not going to get any healthier. And health is it's a spectrum, right? So if you are one of these people listening and you're like, I'm stuck in it, I can't find any joy, I don't know what to do, you're finding a lot more pushback or excuses on moving forward, it's time to really take assessment on what do you want? Health-wise, life-wise, how do you choose every day to wake up? I am so grateful. Someone saying you're as happy as you are grateful, and I have to agree with that. I'm so grateful. I come here every Friday, most Fridays, right? And a lot of people ask me why. They go, why do you show up for free and talk to these people that you've likely never met, right? How long are you going to do that for? What are you going to do with that? Whatever. And I think for me, I go, well, if I have the opportunity to change one person's outlook on choice and joy and gratitude, and I reconnect them just even 1% back to their heart and their soul and their love, like that brings me joy, right? But it goes down to what's the goal of my life? I had to sit down and reevaluate that. Am I going to continue to live the way I'm living, or am I going to make a choice to change and be grateful as hard as it is, right? There's so many things that happen to us on a daily basis. I continue to have things happen to me on a daily basis. I had a family member this week who had, I don't want to go into a lot of detail because it's not my thing to share, but a health event. And I found myself saying, I'm so grateful that they may actually recover. Like, I'm so grateful, like this happened, but it was more a sign, like to remind me that we need to be grateful because life can be really short. And thank heavens, it looks like he's going to be okay. But you forget when we are in the muck of it, all the stuff we have to do. Our to-do list is just so long, right? That we forget to be grateful for the fact that we're able to do our to-do list. So just be grateful. I do see some questions coming through. I'm talking because I want a few more because I like to kind of run through them. Otherwise I run out. So I want to encourage you, if you guys are new and you're like, what is this chick talking about? This is a Q&A. So start writing the questions because I'm going to start at the top and I'm going to start rolling through them. I've talked for about 15 minutes, so I'm going to jump into questions. So make sure you're writing them down so that I can start answering them, right? I think Shane is saying something about love and you can relate and learning about yourself and reconnecting to my authenticity. I think authenticity is one of the things that we are 100% losing in our culture right now. We're losing who we are. And every one of us has something incredibly beautiful to bring the world, even if that's a story of pain and struggle. Those are beautiful things to teach others how to appreciate gratitude. Any of you that are in or have been through something very difficult, if you can recognize how much that can help somebody else, it brings more purpose to you, right? So it's easy to let it take us down, but it's also something that gives us value to somebody else, right? You know? Anyway, I'm going to start rolling through the questions. Is anyone new here? Can you say hi? Tell me where you're from. I like to meet new people. I really do. And once again, I want to thank all of you that filled out the survey and told me what you want from me. Overwhelmingly, I got podcast, masterclasses, podcast, guests, podcast. So, okay. The podcast is a bit more difficult to implement quickly, but it's there. The masterclasses I'm trying to implement fairly quickly. So hopefully we'll have those coming up here in the next couple weeks. But thank you. I'm glad that when I come here and I'm able to just be authentic and real with you all, that you all respond. And hopefully just 1% of you walk away saying, okay, I'm grateful for waking up today. What a beautiful opportunity to have a day. What a beautiful opportunity for everything that comes your way today. Um, and everything that comes at us, whether it's perceived as negative or not, is a choice, right? So we have the opportunity to make a choice today. You get to make a lot of choices today, and that's awesome. That's a good thing. Lots of choices. All right, I'm going to scroll back and try to start at the beginning of some of the questions. So if you have more questions, start jotting them down and I will catch up to them in a second. I think Facebook was pretty quick. Most of my questions are on Instagram. So let me look. Hello, Health Warrior, Doc Pingle. Hi. I love being myself at home. I love your nail color, right? This is fun, isn't it? I know if my mom were alive, she would tell me, Trisha, put on some pretty feminine nail polish. But that's just not my personality. I mean, sometimes I do. Sometimes I put on some fun, pretty stuff, like, especially if I have an event or something. But like when it's just me, like by myself, I'd rather have like something fun. It's a little hint of something fun. Are you familiar with Energy Bits, Spirulina, and Cholera? Marketing sounds good, but I value and appreciate. As far as the company, I don't know the company. I'd have to look it up, right? As far as using, algae type products, spirulina and stuff, there's a lot of value in that, mostly in oxygen perfusion. I think there's a lot of products on the market that are not as clean, that maybe charge more than simply the supplement itself. You know what? I'm not positive. Let me grab a pen because I'm going to check this for you. Because if I don't have it on my store, I certainly could add it. Let me see what I can add as far as a good algae-based supplement. So my store is Total Health Apothecary. I'm adding new supplements like pretty much daily. So let me see if I can add something. If you want to reach out to my team, you can DM or you can go through my website and just say, hey, Dr. Pingle was talking about adding this type of supplement. Can you let me know when it's up? We will do so. I'll try to take a look after this live if I have some time. Okay. But yeah, there's a lot of benefits to plants in general, right? Love this. We are not bioidentical. You're right. Love this reminder that health and joy is multidimensional. Yep. Pain is a component of joy. Absolutely, Steve. Absolutely. I agree with the present moment feeling, right? Okay. How often should we have our blood pressure cuffs inspected? I would imagine that they would probably recommend yearly to bi-yearly, but I would say that if you're noticing a very consistent reading and it hasn't been jumping around, it's probably okay. If you're starting to notice a lot of inconsistencies or it's raising and it doesn't make a lot of sense, like you take it at home, but then when you go to the doctor's office, it's vastly different. Now, keep in mind that sometimes at home it's lower because you're freaked out at the doctor's office, right? But if you're finding it's higher at home than the doctor's office, you're not finding consistency in readings, I would definitely have it inspected. The hard part with blood pressure cuffs, and this is in med school when we would play around with them, and when I was learning how to use the manual ones, the size of the cuff does matter. So if you have a really small arm like mine and you use a regular cuff, it could be a wrong reading versus if you have a really big arm and you're trying to use too small of a cuff. So I think the first thing to look at is what's the cuff size? Is it the right size for your arm? And then if you're finding inconsistent readings, I would definitely have it inspected. Yeah, for sure. The most accurate reading is really manual with somebody that's paying attention. I think one of the problems that I do see in some of the newer doctor classes coming out is they're really reliant on the automatic blood pressure cuffs and not as well practiced on a manual blood pressure cuff. And you really have to pay attention on a manual blood pressure cuff because you have to hear the beat and you have to watch the ticks. So there is a relative error there, of a few little points, but you really want to make sure that it's compared to manual. I have someone saying they took their cuff to the doctor and checked it compared to manual. It's always going to be a few points off because manual is somewhat subjective, but I think more accurate. And cuff size matters. There are always one to several takeaways from here. I'm grateful for you. Thanks, Steve. I'm grateful for you too. Thanks for showing up. And thanks for always asking questions. That's one of the things I love about you. Always trying to learn. And I think that's so important. I think before you end the live today, we should all share something we are grateful for. Ooh. Look at my time. Okay. You got it. Okay. I'm catching up. Instagram, get ready for your questions. I'm coming. Hi, Dr. Pingle. Hi, Kirby. How are you, hon? Do you know about lectins? Are they really dangerous to our gut microbiome and heart? I learned this from Steve Gundry. Yeah, so you're going to get different opinions from different people, right? So we have to look at who is the database that we're talking to, right? So when I'm talking to people and they're like, well, should I eat carbs? Should I eat lectin? Should I eat this? Should I eat that? My first question is, well, let's look at your gut microbiome. Let's look at your nutritional level and let's decide what diet's right for you. So do I eat lectins? I mean, I eat lentils, I eat black beans, I eat chickpeas, I eat, right? But the rest of my diet is supportive of that type of diet. If I was eating a carnivore type diet and high heavy of meat with a different lifestyle, those lectins may cause problems in my microbiome. I think the first question is, what is your microbiome now? And what is the diet that best supports it, right? Because we know an imbalanced microbiome will put you at risk for disease, right? So if the majority of the people coming into his practice are people that have certain diets and lifestyles that make lectins dangerous to their gut microbiome, then that's what he's going to talk about, right? So my answer is depends. There are some people that I don't recommend do a lot of lectins. There are others that I'm okay with. It looks at the overall status of your body and also how often are you eating these and in what proportions to other things. You guys will hear me a lot say, I don't like dairy. Like, I think people in America should be gluten-free because I think the gluten in our country is disgusting and it's pesticides and it's crap and it's modified, right? And our dairy is full of hormones, right? So you might hear me say, I don't believe in eating dairy and I don't believe in eating gluten. I'm not saying that's for everyone. Maybe there's people out there that really well source their gluten. If you go to Europe, you're going to have a completely different scenario than here. We see that right now with the big thing with Kellogg's right now. By the way, I haven't bought a Kellogg's product in 20 years myself. I've already boycotted them because what they do in our country and the stuff that they put in our food is not right, right? So here's the question. If you were going to eat lectins in a different country, would the answer be different? So is it the lectin or is it the pesticides and the crap that's going into our food that's causing the reaction combined with the stressed lifestyle that we live, which is slowing our metabolics and not allowing us to clear toxins, right? This could go into a whole conversation about, is it the body or is it the food? Or is it a combination of the two? So my bottom line is I'm not against anything as a whole for everybody. I think we really have to look at what it's doing in our body and the individual response of our body to our food. So when I eat gluten, I literally fall asleep. Within 30 minutes, I'm out. I can't handle it. I also have a gene for celiac. I don't have celiac. I have a gene for it. So to me, if I know that, but my celiac tests are negative, but I know that I don't respond well to gluten, and if I continue to eat it, there's a possibility I could become celiac, I'm not going to eat it, right? I have an absolute reaction to dairy products in America. I haven't tried them in Europe, could be totally different. So I avoid them. I think you need to know when you eat lectins, if you investigate, be your own investigator. How do you feel? How does your body respond? What are your metabolics? Let's say that you have high inflammation. When you take lectins out, does your inflammation lower? If it does, they may not be the right thing for you. Do you know what I mean? You guys with me? Make America healthy again. Yeah. I mean, this is stupid. It's like we have so many factors. Oh my gosh. Just as a person right now, as an adult, think of how many things I just went over that you have to think about when you think about, do I want to eat beans or not? Just think about that. How many factors are involved? We are overstimulated. We have too many things going on. Too much information, too many conflicting viewpoints. Uh-oh. Did they bump me off Instagram because I was making a statement there? Am I back? Right? But just think about all the different things that we have to consider. No wonder we're all confused. And by the way, that all causes stress, right? So what if you could just trust your physician again, right? What if you could go to your physician and you could say, hey, I want to be proactive. I want to run these functional tests. I want to know my baseline, and I want to know how I can best eat and live and what I can do to prevent decline as much as possible. And then I'm going to do it. What if you could just trust your physician? I think we live in a world where we don't trust anyone anymore, right? And I see this all the time, I do, and it breaks my heart. I don't particularly trust certain physicians either. I don't go to certain physicians because I don't want to be told that I'm an idiot for wanting to be proactive or that I'm fine. You're healthy, be quiet, just take that. I don't want to be told that either, right? So yeah, there's a long answer into something else. I hope that helped though. Okay, let me hit Instagram for a few and then I'll come back to the rest of the Facebook questions. You guys are awesome. Okay. Okay. Wow, you guys went back here. Okay, I think we're good. I think I'm caught up here. Okay. Happy Friday, happy travels. What's your advice on cleansing parasites on a regular basis? I do. I'm playing with that quite a bit in my patient database right now. In my clients, we're doing a lot of different types of cleanses: parasite cleanse, virus, yeast, and looking at doing it in a cleanse type scenario where you're doing it more intensively, but then also looking at it from a more maintenance situation. So one of the ways I work, and any of my clients out there will probably laugh, because how can I recommend something if I'm not understanding it or I'm not doing it? So if I recommend a supplement to a client, either I've had really good success with it with other clients in similar situations, or I've personally experienced it. I always try to personally experience what I recommend, because so when I was like, okay, I really want to start focusing in and really helping my clients get to the next level. And in order to do that, I have to look at their microbiome, right? And I have to balance out their microbiome. Now, this is a really high level. If someone comes to me and says, well, I want you just to fix my thyroid, yeah, I can get the thyroid in balance, right? And then when it's in balance, now what? Right? What's next? Right? You feel good, your thyroid's in balance, your numbers are good, your weight is good, whatever. Then you're like, oh, well, I guess I'm healed. No. What's the next level? The next level of trying to stay healthy until you're 95. My goal is to be up on ladders and running around when I'm old. I got to make sure that I'm keeping my flora and my internal environment top notch, right? So what we've been doing, my concierge clients have been doing, a lot of them have been doing a parasite cleanse intensively, some doing very intense, some doing slower, myself doing both. I did intense for 4 months, and now I'm doing a regular, daily, low level maintenance parasite attack. I think there's a lot of value in it. I think it can be missold to people. I think there's a lot of gimmicks out there that are like, here, clear your parasites in 7 days and take this huge thing. That's not going to work. This is something that should be done in a full comprehensive protocol. That's my opinion on it. I think it's important. I think we do all have parasites. I think whether or not they're causing a problem or not is, a timeline. They might not be causing a problem now. They might in 4 years. So we might as well take care of them. And I think it's more intense than people realize as far as it being comprehensive. Just killing off the parasite is not going to solve the microbiome problem. It'll kill the parasites that are there, but it's not going to prevent future ones from taking hold. So it's a comprehensive protocol. I think it's valuable. I'm finding much better energy personally. I'm on month 7, month 8, maybe longer. It's been a while. And I feel great, better than I did last year. And if you would have asked me last year if I was healthy and feeling great, I would have said, yes, I feel better than I did last year. So hopefully next year I feel even better than I do now. That would be awesome. So yeah, I think it's a great thing, but I think be careful of gimmicks for it. Work with someone who knows what they're doing. and looks at your individual health. There's a lot of you out there, maybe some of my clients out there, that we try to do this and their body's like, we're not doing this right now. And I have to slow way back and I got to make customizations to it because their body's not ready. I have other people that have done it and feel nothing because their body was so ready and so efficient that it knocked them out right away and there wasn't a huge side effect, right? So you're beautiful. Oh, and we're all grateful for you sharing your knowledge and expertise. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you for being here. Yeah, we got to that one. Okay. Hi, Dr. Pingle. Could you please explain when is the best time during the month to do hormonal testing to check for perimenopause? My doctor only ordered estradiol, FSH, and LH. That's a shame on ordering only estradiol, FSH, and LH because that really doesn't tell you much. So perimenopause is a time where all of our hormones are kind of going like this, right? So it's important to get estradiol, of course. It's important to get estrone, which is the storage of estrogen, which is going to start happening during perimenopause because as your estradiol levels drop, your body's going to try to hang on to them, right? And then we've got to balance this out with the progesterone levels. We've got to consider the testosterone levels. We've got to consider the adrenal levels. We've got to consider the insulin and glucose, and we've got to consider the thyroid because these are all of our 4 areas of hormones, right? So the best time, if you are a menstruating female with regular cycles, I like drawing during the 3rd week, about 7 to 10 days before you're supposed to bleed, because that is really the only time that progesterone peaks. Now, during perimenopause, yours may peak on day 5 or on 5 days before your cycle, 3 days before your cycle, 7 days, 10 days, right? So the first time you do it, I target 7 to 10 days. And then every time we may shift that slightly when we're trying to compare apples to apples, right? So if normally about 10 days before your cycle, your progesterone's at 15, and the next time we run it 10 days before your cycle, your progesterone's at 5, right? We can see that there's movements. That doesn't mean you're deficient in progesterone, by the way. It means it's moving. The cycle is changing. So either we have to change with the timing or we have to start really paying attention to the symptoms that come up on day 10 now. Are the symptoms or not day 10 days before your cycle? Are you now noticing that you're more irritable 10 days before? Are you noticing that your periods are lasting longer, getting shorter, moving? Then we can make assessments from that. So I always draw 7 to 10 days before the period and then compare year to year. If you want to know what labs I run, you can get my lab list. Right? I think if you write labs, it'll actually send you my little bot will send you the lab list. If it's also in my link in bio, you can also reach out to my office for it. And it has those labs. And I believe I do say on there when to draw it. I hope that helps. It's more than just a number. FSH and LH isn't going to particularly help you. Because here's the thing, FSH and LH could be high, which would indicate menopause. But if you're still cycling every month, you're not in menopause because you have to not have a cycle for a year to be diagnosed with menopause. So FSH and LH doesn't really help you if you're still menstruating. It's like, okay, great. My brain says I need hormones. Cool. Well, now what, right? You're not going to base treatment off that. I think we should dance at the end of the live. I know. I would love to, but I can't turn music on. I get kicked off. Absolutely know your own body. Yes. Any natural strategies to reduce an asymptomatic fibroid? Very nervous about laparoscopic surgery option and fibroid embolization. Thoughts? Asymptomatic, there's a lot of theories on this. I've had a lot of patients that have tried different things like primrose oil, borage oil, there might be some reduction in the fibroid. I wouldn't say that I've seen anything drastic over the years. I have other doctors I've spoken to that do. I think looking at the rest of the hormone picture is very important because you need to keep your estrogens in balance so that they don't cause more growth of the fibroid or additional fibroid growth. So there's a preventative aspect that needs to be considered. And then if you are asymptomatic, there isn't a rush on removal. If it's symptomatic, that might be the best thing. As far as fibroids turning into something more serious, it's fairly rare. They're usually benign, but it's always good to stay on top of it and pay attention to it. As far as laparoscopic surgery, I ended up doing laparoscopic surgery, pretty severe endometriosis, and I put it off way too long. And I wish I wouldn't have because I figured out I got my estrogens back into the range they needed to be in. And I got myself to a point where my metabolics were on point hormonally, but I had a lot of leftover tissue, right? That would have perpetuated more growth. So I had to do a combination of the both. Now I'm glad I waited till my hormones were in line and I knew what my body was trying to tell me before I did the laparoscopic surgery, because hopefully that means we won't have to do it again, versus like trying to do it when I was younger, just when everyone said, oh, just take the birth control pill and let's just get in there. I'm glad I waited till I figured it out. But once I figured it out and got my hormones in line, I'm glad I did the laparoscopic surgery. So I think every single situation is different. Nobody wants to have surgery, but you have to really know your body. Once again, how is this impacting your hormone levels? How is it impacting your insulin levels? Is the fibroid promoting any particular abnormalities in the hormone system, or is it truly asymptomatic, right? And these are things, by the way, you should feel comfortable talking to your doctor about. I have these conversations all day long, right? It's like someone says, oh, I have a fibroid. What should I do? And I'm like, well, let's look at the options. Let's look at the situation. Let's look at your metabolics. Let's look at the options and let's talk about it. And then we decide, do we want to table this for now? Do we want to keep talking about it? Do we want to look at other options? What do we want to do right now? And what do we want to do 6 months from now? Do we want to talk about this again in 6 months? Let's reevaluate, and see where are we at. And then sometimes the conversation changes. Sometimes people say, well, I don't want surgery. I don't even want to talk about it. And then a year later, they're like, you know what? I'd like to consider this. And so it's a different conversation, right? It's been growing 1 to 2 centimeters per year, but so far mostly asymptomatic. Well, if it's growing, I'm going to argue it's not asymptomatic. If it's growing, there's something making it grow. So you got to find out what that is, right? Is it estrone? Is estrone high in relationship to progesterone, right? Is there an insulin issue? These are some things I would ask. Estrone, insulin, thyroid, what's your endocrine system doing, right? Why is it growing? That's something to address. That's what you got to investigate. Once you figure out why it's growing, address that, then decide what to do about the fibroid. Yeah? Does that make sense? Does that help? If you are a 50-year-old man with low testosterone, what can you take to bring it up? Couple things here. Number one, testosterone is at the bottom of the pathway. So there's a lot of things above it, right? Cholesterol, DHEA, testosterone. You've got testosterone turning into estrogen. You've got a relationship between progesterone and testosterone. Yes, even in men. So in order to bring it up, you have to look at why is it low? Is it low because he's not producing testosterone? Or is it low because he's producing it, but it's turning into estrogen? Is it low because the DHEA is choosing to go to cortisol because there's too much stress on the system? So when you draw it out, when you do a lab workup, and you can ask for my lab list, there's men labs on there as well. When you draw it up, you got to figure out which arrow is the problem. Is it in the production of testosterone or is it in conversion of testosterone? Because if it's in conversion, you don't want to add more testosterone. That would be dumb, because if you add more testosterone, it's going to convert, right? So you would want to address the conversion issue. You would want to downregulate cortisol. You would want to block things that need to be blocked in order to naturally raise the testosterone. If it's an issue of production, you would want to look, well, is the DHEA low, right? Why are we not producing it? So once you find out why it's happening, right, then you can address it. The answer is quite clear, right? Once you know why. So once again, when people say, what do I do? What do I do for this? To investigate, take an ownership of what your body's trying to tell you. Be grateful for that. The body's saying, look, I don't have a sex drive. As for your brother, I'm having erectile dysfunction. Something's not right. My energy's low. I'm not sleeping well. And he says, oh, well, what is it? So somebody looks and says it's low testosterone. And then they stop and they say, okay, well, let's just give testosterone. Whoa, hold up. Why is it low? There's another layer of investigation that goes beyond that. And when you find that, you find the answer and you find the treatment. With that, I know there was a couple more questions I'm going to try to run through because I'm on my time. So grateful that mammogram found a lesion. It was not cancerous, although I still have to have it removed by oncologist. It is stressful to be put under anesthesia. Yeah. My nurse practitioner has cuffs of different sizes in her office. Great for my Betty spaghetti arms. Yeah. That's a good point. Thank you. Okay. I'm very sensitive to loud noises. I can't stand my motorcycles and loud cars. Could this be an issue with my nervous system or weak adrenals? Yes. Yes. It's an overstimulation response. Lots of people saying yes, yes, yes. So I must have been on a roll with something, right? Steve says, I did the parasite cleanse you use. It worked really well. Okay, a little gross when I passed the worms. Right. It is a little gross, but it's like, wow, because you don't believe they're there, but they are. Do you know hydrochloride causes the body to produce more calcium? Yeah. So you're looking at something that manages electrolytes, right? So calcium's an electrolyte. So all the electrolytes are going to be imbalanced when you're taking a diuretic. Oh, I'm sorry. He's crying all the time and just got dialysis. That's hard. Like, it's hard. It's a hard time in his life. With the pain, there is a joy. You just have to be there to support, okay? Remind him there is a joy. There's a lesson here. There's things that can be done, right? So with that said, we had a great suggestion for everyone to put down one thing they're grateful for today as I sign off. So I'm going to give you all a moment. Start typing. One thing, just one little thing that you're grateful for. And we're going to sign off with all of it. And then I'm going to go. I will not be here next week, guys. I'm actually going to be out of town again, but it's not a place that I can do the live from. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to skip it. What can you take for it? Once again, you got to find out why it's happening, hon. You got to look for the investigation. You got to do the investigation. Then the answer will be clear. So when he does the investigation, you come back and say, well, it's low because of this, this, and this. What can he take? Then I can answer. Okay, everyone start writing what they're grateful for. Let's go. Grateful. I'm in a position where I can homeschool my daughter. Great one. Let's keep going. I want to read them off before I sign off. Let's go. Give me your gratefulness. I'm grateful for the time that I spent by myself this week. And I'm grateful of how it rejuvenated me to want to continue to spend more time with myself. I'm grateful for my kids and husband. Awesome. Grateful for being able to attend your live today. I love it. How much is it for the investigation? Reach out to my office. Send a message through through my website or DM, and just you can set up time to talk with my team and they can let you know what options are with me or direct you perhaps to somebody in your area. Okay. Grateful for Jesus, my family and friends. Wonderful. Grateful for the Lord and grateful for your expertise and care. Thank you. I'm grateful for life, health, and strength. Yeah, I'm grateful for strength too. I'm grateful for resilience as well. I get knocked down a lot. And I would say one of my favorite traits is that I get back up. I'm like Scrappy Doo. It's like you knock me down and I'm like, oh, and then I'm like, oh, I'm going to get him. No, you're not knocking me down. I'm going to get back up. And that's one of my downfalls too, because I don't always give myself enough grace and time in the moment to feel it. Right. So one of the things that I'm most grateful about for myself is also one of the things that can hold me back. And I think you'll find that, right? Some of your greatest traits are also some of your worstest traits. And I have to like pay attention and be like, okay, Trisha, it's not the time to be resilient right now. It's the time to sit in it, right? Grateful out of abusive relationship. Good for you. Grateful I have food to eat, water to drink, shelter, and electricity at home. Electricity is something a lot of people are struggling with right now. Thank you. All right. I think I got through all of you all. I probably will not be here next week. I'm sorry. I hope you will all forgive me, but I will be back the following week. And I'm grateful for all of you showing up. I will look to put that supplement to Total Health Apothecary. You guys keep on showing up. Keep reminding yourself how wonderful it is to just be alive today. Okay. So go do something for yourself today that brings you joy. And I'll see you guys soon. Take care now.